Hello divers and welcome back to another video. Today we are exploring the Duane, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Duane, just south of Key Largo. We were out today, this is April of 2023, we were with Conquer Public Divers. As you'll see here, we were diving with Nitrox 30, max depth is 105 feet. And this was strictly a recreational dive. We did not do anything technical. This is a pretty straightforward surface level exploration. And if you are liking these videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. As you see here, we drop down. There are 3 moorings on the Duane. The one we just came down is on the aft deck. We came down on the stern, and what you're looking at here is the radio tower. I believe people refer to at the top as the crow's nest. I'm not quite sure because I was never in the Coast Guard or served aboard a ship, whether it was actually used as a crow's nest. But underneath it, I believe, is the radar operating center and the radar tower. The radio tower sits atop it. It's sort of one of the most prominent features of the ship. The Duane's sister ship lies, I should say, within about a mile, also on the seabed. And probably, I would say, the easiest way to tell them apart is looking here at the Duane. The Duane sits proud. The radio tower and the superstructure are upright, whereas the bib is lying, I believe, on her starboard side. We dove it later in this week, so I'll have to check when I do that video. But for right this second, we are going to start taking a look around the starboard side of the Duane. And you can see that really it's just completely overcome with incrustation. This is all local coral fish and reef fish. The Duane was sunk intentionally as a reef substrate, so this is an artificial reef. She was sunk in 1987. She was originally commissioned in the 30s, in 1936, as a cutter, as a law enforcement ship. She was armed. She did have tours of duty throughout the 40s, 50s, 60s, and ultimately was decommissioned in the 80s. So we're going to start making our way around the outer portion of the deck here. You kind of see these schools of grunts floating around. There's me with my camera. Shout out to Ike-Light. Most of my stuff is Ike-Light. The one recording the footage is Molly, my wife, on the GoPro. And like I said, we were out with Conquer Public, who is just an outstanding dive operator. We did a whole bunch of dives with them over the course of a week, including the Duane twice. So if you're into some pretty straightforward recreational wreck dives, they are a good outfit to reach out to. So the Duane, like quite a few of the other ships in the region that lie in the seabed, were, as I said, sunk as artificial reefs, which means I believe the majority of their inner structure and certainly sort of some of the internal accompaniments or wires and pipes and walls were stripped, so that number one, it would sink as planned, and number two, it would not be as great an entanglement hazard as, say, an undiscovered or unexplored shipwreck would be. There are divers and Coast Guardsmen and Navy sailors who will be quick to point out that, and divers for that matter, that this is not a shipwreck. This is an artificial reef. This is an artificial reef in the shape of a cutter. There's a barracuda hanging around overhead right there. So this is not a shipwreck. A shipwreck is generally unintentional, and these were sunk intentionally so that they could help restore some of the local coral reef growth. So one of the coolest things about diving these wrecks, especially from a recreational standpoint, and people who don't get to do them from a technical standpoint, is that it's really like you're flying over this massive structure that you have no business seeing some of the views that you're able to see. What I mean by that is, you see a ship like this while it's in operation, and you're just going to see sort of from the ground up, from your perspective, your eye level up as high as you can see. Whereas here, you're sort of in 3D, almost flying around it, getting the opportunity to see some parts of the ship and see some angles that you wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do so. And it's sort of stunning when you drop down onto a ship, when you're coming down the mooring line as it comes into view. it's just so counterintuitive that it's there. You come down and there's just this massive structure, this massive ship that you know what it is because you've seen them in operation and you've seen them whether in TV or movies, but it doesn't have any business being in the position it's in. And when you get down and you get a chance to start cruising around it, it's really pretty amazing. I think it's partly because of that these are some of the most popular dive sites in the U.S. The Duane, like I said, does have a sister ship. Both were commissioned in the 30s. Sheila, the bib, lies nearby within a mile or so. And we'll start to poke our heads into some of the interior here. But like I said, this is a recreational dive. We didn't do anything technical. We're both just on single cylinder back gas. No redundancy, no line, nothing technical. We're just taking a look. We were just down here on vacation, so we decided to do some recreational dives. But if you saw when we took a look inside that first door, there are certainly still entanglement hazards in there. Those were wires hanging down inside the doorway. So, one move too bold, and a recreational diver could certainly get in trouble here. So we were being cautious not to push it too far because we weren't equipped. We didn't plan a tech dive, so we didn't do one. And as you can see, sort of as we make our way through this room here, it is pretty easy to get some of that silt kicked up into the water, and it'll stay suspended pretty well. The current does a pretty good job of washing it out, but you can easily silt yourself out and lose visibility. Granted, in broad daylight, it's tough to get far away from a visible exit, but nonetheless, if you're gonna do much exploration of the interior of the ship, please keep in mind that you should be properly trained and equipped. So you can kind of see we're making our way back out. Actually that was the owner of, or at least the co-owner of Concord Public Divers, Ashley. She's outstanding. And we're going to start making our way back down to the main deck. I believe we are on the port side now, and this ship is just teeming with life. This dive was pretty straightforward. We did get the chance to move around quite a bit. We had dove the Duane earlier in the week, and the current was such that we could essentially do nothing. You had to stay behind part of the structure or inside or holding on to, I know that's the wrong move, but part of the ship, because otherwise you would have been swept away. It wasn't quite that dramatic, but it was certainly a lot more effortful of a dive. The ship, the Duane, was armed. I'm not sure if we're seeing a portion of one of the turrets here, but the ship was armed. It was not a civilian ship. And a little bit of an interesting fact, as of 1984, just prior to her decommissioning, she was the oldest active U.S. warship. And she still does have, the bulk of the original hull, the ladders, the ports are all intact, the rudders are still intact. So if you get a chance to do this wreck, you will get a chance to see all of that. I don't remember, I think we saw a couple of blacktip reef sharks hanging around either this wreck or it may have been the Spiegel Grove, which is another outstanding wreck in the region. But yeah, as you're probably noticing, this wreck is home to another barracuda right there, a couple of schools of barracuda, which hang out above the wreck, and as well as the mooring lines, and then schools of grunts and butterfly fish pretty much everywhere. We saw, I forget what the black and yellow fish is we just saw, but we do see them all over the place in the Caribbean. So we're going to poke our heads again into one of these rooms with visible egress on the other side. And we'll do kind of a quick survey here before we get in. And if you look down in the kind of middle of your screen there's a skull. It is obviously plastic. It is not a real human skull. This is not a war grave. I'm not sure what the story is behind it. I imagine it was placed there by one of the dive operators as sort of an objective for divers to try to achieve. So we popped our head in. There's me going in with my bigger camera rig and some strobes to try to take a picture of it. The shipwrecks around the area have sort of some, each has kind of its unique feature that the dive operators will tell you to go try to find. the skull here on the Duane, the Snoopy on the Spiegel Grove. So it is kind of fun getting to do a little exploration in search of what they advise you to look for, and I believe in this case that was the skull. So mission accomplished. I believe this was our last diving day for the week, so this was probably one of the last dives we did on this trip. And honestly, we couldn't ask for a better one. At this point, we had already dove it once, so it's always helpful to dive, especially a situation like this, more than once, because the second and third time around, you just have a much better understanding of where you want to go, what you want to see, and how the whole thing is laid out. So we'll keep kind of making our way. This is a little bit of an abridged video, a bunch more grunts here, which I think probably more than any other fish is primarily what we saw in the Keys. We did half reef diving, half recreational wreck dives this week, and honestly, all of it was outstanding. So we're going to take a little foray into, oh, and this is another one, I remember this is another one of the objectives the dive operators tell you to check out. You'll notice in just a minute as Molly creeps her way up these steps and looks in, we're heading into a head, as I guess they would call it on a Coast Guard vessel. There's the sink, or there's the sink. We may be heading into it in just a minute. But this, I think, is on the second deck. I don't know that we're going to go in here. Oh, I guess we are. We can take another look around and check out the interior of the vessel. These wrecks really would be great to do as do some technical diving on, especially for new technical divers. They're just so wide open, and getting line drills down. And getting trim and propulsion techniques down, these would be, I think, great sites for it. I think here's the head. So there's a sink on the right side. There's a porthole, and then I think we're going to look down to the left, and you'll see there it is, an intact toilet. That's another. I think that's a pretty common photo site. People will kind of duck into the head there and pop a squat and take a picture, which you can make of that what you will, whether it's a good idea or not, but I guess it's probably pretty harmless. There's nothing growing on it. And all of these sort of false portholes, which were cut in the side of the ship to help it sink, are nice and easy to get out of, so the egress is always really straightforward, which is nice. It's nice to kind of get your toes wet getting into some easy recreational wreck diving. So that's going to wrap it up. Here we are on the mooring line doing a safety stop there in the bedazzled pink kit with the pink tank and the pink mask and the pink gloves and the pink fin. There again is Ashley, co-owner of Concord Public Divers. If you are traveling to the Keys and want to do some diving, give them a call. Talk to Ashley, talk to whoever's there. They're outstanding. They'll help you out. They'll get you set up so that you have the best week or trip of diving you can possibly have. So be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Any questions, concerns, comments, anything I got wrong, please go ahead and let me know. And be sure to stay tuned for the next one. I think that the next upcoming dives for this series are going to be another dip on the Duane, the Bib, potentially another Spiegel Grove, and then I think we'll be moving on to Thailand. So until then, dive safe and take care.